Where legends breathe again. Eld myth. The world is a blur of fever and fire. You are not in a bed, but in a cot of rough straw, your small body, so impossibly small, convulsing. The heat comes not from a hearth, but from within your own blood, a boiling poison gifted to you in your cradle. Your vision swims, but you see them. Two serpents, scales glistening with an unnatural, divine malice, coiling up the sides of your crib. Their hiss is the sound of a goddess's jealousy made flesh. You do not understand the words Hera or hatred yet, but you feel them in the venomous intent that fills the room. You feel a different kind of heat then, not of sickness, but of response. Tiny, fat hands, instead of flailing in terror, shoot out. Your fingers, with a strength that should not be, close around the cold, muscular bodies. The shock in the serpent's black eyes is the first satisfaction you will ever know. You squeeze. You feel the vertebrae crackle and pop like green twigs, a sound both horrifying and deeply, fundamentally correct. The life leaves them, their hisses cut short. As you drop the limp coils onto the straw, you hear gasps from the doorway. Your mortal mother, Alcmene, and your mortal stepfather, Amphitryon, their faces masks of terror and awe. You do not cry. You simply breathe, the fever already receding, replaced by a steady, humming warmth in your limbs. This is your first memory, not of love, but of survival enacted through sheer, brutal force. A demigod's birthright and his curse, announced before you could speak. The scent of oiled wood and dusty scrolls fills your nostrils. You sit on a low stool, your legs, now those of a youth strong and clumsy, feeling too large for the space. In your hands is a lyre, a delicate thing of polished tortoiseshell and sinew string. Your music tutor, Linus, stands over you, his shadow a long, disapproving stripe across the sun-warmed floor of the courtyard. Again, Heracles, he says, the name your mortal parents gave you, grating in his precise tone. From the beginning. Harmony, not force. You pluck a string, it winds off-key. The frustration is a physical pressure in your chest, a roar building behind your eyes. You have just come from the training grounds where you felled a bull with your bare hands, where the earth shook with your throws. And now this fiddling. Linus raises his rod, a thin switch of willow, and brings it down on your shoulder. A sting, a humiliation. It is not the pain, but the insult of it. The roar escapes. It is not a shout, but a raw sound of divine wrath channeled through a teenager's lungs. You see your own hands, now massive and powerful, rise, not with the focused intent of the infant, but with a blind, sweeping fury. You bring the lyre down not on the strings, but across the side of Linus's head. The sound is not a musical note, but a wet, final crack. The delicate instrument shatters in your grip. He falls. The world goes terribly, perfectly silent. You stare at the body, at the blood seeping into the geometric tiles, at the splinters of the lyre in your palm. The warmth in your limbs is cold now. This is not a serpent of divine malice. This is a mortal man, broken by an accident of your temper. This is the first death you are responsible for. The exile, you will learn, begins here. The smell of burning meat and home. It is your home in Thebes. The hearth fire crackles, a familiar, comforting sound. Your wife Megara smiles at you from across the room, her face softened by firelight. Your children play at your feet, a little boy with your stubborn curl trying to arm wrestle your finger. A moment of perfect, mortal peace. Then a scent cuts through it, not wood smoke, but the acrid, electric smell of ozone, of a storm summoned indoors. A piercing, divine shriek, audible only to you, reverberates in your skull. It is Hera's laughter, her final, most perfect weapon. The world distorts. The warm firelight bleeds into a hellish red glow. Megara's loving face contorts in your sight into the sneering visage of King Eurystheus, the weakling who will command you. Your children's playful squeals become the jeers of your enemies. A consuming black rage, hotter than any forge, floods your veins, erasing you. What happens next is not done by Hercules. It is done by a force of destruction wearing your skin. You move. There is no thought, only a red pulse and the sound of breaking. When the haze clears, the smell of home is gone, replaced by iron and worse. You are on your knees, your hands dripping, not with wine, but with a life you cherished. The hearth fire still crackles, indifferent. It illuminates the carnage you have wrought with your own God-gifted strength. Your lungs burn as you draw a breath that becomes a howl of loss so profound it shakes the very stones of the palace. This is not a trial. This is the punishment before the labors, the reason they will be imposed. You have slain your future with your own hands. The gods, you realize as the grief devours you, do not just test heroes. They break them first. The smell of rotting laurel leaves and volcanic sulfur. You stand in the dim, shifting light of the Oracle of Delphi. The Pythia, a woman lost in divine seizure, writhes on her tripod, her mouth moving with a voice that is not her own. The air is thick with the scent of crushed bay leaves and a deeper, more ancient stone. You have come here seeking purification, for the blood of your family is a stain no river can wash away. You have asked how you can atone. The voice that answers is Apollo's, filtered through a mortal throat, cold and inexorable. Go to Turin's, it hisses, the words echoing in the confined, smoky chamber. You shall be bound in service to your cousin, King Eurystheus. You will perform 10 labors for him, tasks he shall devise. Only then, Heracles, will you be cleansed. Only then might you find a place among the gods. The number 10 hangs in the air. Eurystheus. The very thought of that cowardly, spiteful man giving you commands makes the new scars on your soul ache. This is Hera's design perfected. Your punishment is not death, but subjugation. Your atonement is not a pilgrimage, but a series of impossible glories that will forever belong to another. The Pythia slumps spent. The divine presence lifts, leaving only the smell of human sweat and despair. You turn and walk out of the gloom toward the blinding Greek sun. The path is set. You are no longer a grieving husband, a mourning father. You are a weapon, now to be aimed by the most unworthy hand imaginable. A profound, weary anger settles into your muscles, becoming a new kind of strength. You will do these labors, not for Eurystheus, for the faint, shattered hope of one day looking at your own reflection again. The forest in the hills of Nemea is silent, not a peaceful silence but a suffocating predatory one. Every bird, every insect has fled. The air is thick with the smell of wet earth, rotten meat, and a sharp, musky odor that is utterly alien. In your hands is a bow of seasoned oak, a bronze-tipped arrow nocked. Your mortal weapons. You have tracked the beast to its lair, a cave mouth like a wound in the hillside, exhaling a cold, foul breath. Then it emerges, the Nemean lion. It is larger than any story, its pelt a matted golden brown that seems to drink the dappled forest light. Its eyes are not the eyes of an animal, but of a primal force of slaughter. It sees you. It does not roar, it simply charges, a moving avalanche of muscle and claw. You release the arrow. It strikes the beast's shoulder with a sound like bronze hitting stone and snaps in two. The lion doesn't even flinch. Panic, cold and sharp, lances through you for the first time. You draw your sword. As it closes, you swing with all your demigod strength. The blade connects with its neck and shatters into glittering fragments. The shock tremors up your arm. The beast swats you. It feels like being hit by a falling tree. You are airborne, crashing through brush, the world a whirl of sky and soil. The breath is driven from your lungs. You lie there, staring at the splintered hilt of your sword in your hand. Weapons are useless. This is the first lesson of your labors. You are not here as a hunter, but as prey being tested. The lion turns, pacing slowly toward your stunned form. Its silence is more terrifying than any roar. The warmth in your limbs ignites not with rage, but with a cold, calculating survival instinct. If your weapons cannot pierce it, you must become the weapon. You push yourself to your feet, casting aside the broken hilt. Your hands, empty now, curl into fists. You will have to get closer. You will have to let it get closer. This is no longer a hunt. It is a stranglehold in the making. The musky, hot-breath stench of the beast fills your nose, your mouth. You are inside its power. Its claws rake your chest, but you have locked your legs around its barrel-like torso, your arms encircling its thick neck from behind. Your biceps bulge against the impossible, corded muscle of its throat. This is not a fight of movement, but of terrible, static pressure. The lion thrashes, bucking, slamming you back against trees, crushing your ribs against stone. Each impact is a burst of white light behind your eyes, but your grip is an unbreakable covenant. You squeeze. You feel the divine sinew in your arms singing, burning with the effort. You are not choking an animal, you are bending the will of a monster born of the moon. Its golden pelt is impervious, but what lies beneath is not. You hear a wet, grinding rasp begin deep in its chest. Its thrashing becomes more desperate, a wild spin that sends you both crashing through a thicket. Thorns score your face. Still, you squeeze. The warmth in your limbs is a forge fire now, concentrated into the relentless vice of your embrace. Minutes stretch into an eternity of strain. The beast's struggles weaken. The terrible, crushing pressure of its muscles against yours begins to slacken. The final sound is a faint, whistling gurgle. Then, stillness. The immense weight goes limp in your arms. You release your grip and roll away, gasping great, ragged lungfuls of the suddenly sweet forest air. Your body is a tapestry of bruises and shallow, burning cuts. You look at the lion, its majestic form now just a heap of fur and flesh. The first labor is complete. But as you stare at your hands, still trembling with spent force, you realize the true task begins now. You must skin it, and for that you have no tool. A grim, resourceful thought takes hold. You look at the lion's own claws, glinting in the dim light. Its own divine nature, you suspect, is the only thing that can breach its skin. The air is a thick, gelatinous miasma of decay and marsh gas. Your feet sink into the sucking, black mud of the swamps of Lerna with every step. The Nemean lion's pelt is heavy on your shoulders, a trophy and a cloak, but it offers no protection from this pervasive stench. Before you, the waters of the spring Amamone are not clear, but polluted and oily, choked with reeds. You know she is here. The Lernean Hydra, Hera's second challenge, bred specifically to be your end. You raise a burning torch in one hand, a newly forged sword in the other. You call her out, your voice echoing flatly in the damp air. The water bulges, then erupts. Not one head, but 9, each a serpentine nightmare of glistening scales, of eyes burning with a sickly yellow intelligence. The central head is largest, immortal, they say. They hiss in a horrible, multi-tonal chorus and strike. The fight is a chaos of coiling shadows and darting fangs. You swing your sword, severing one head in a spray of black ichor. Before the head even hits the mud, 2 more sprout from the bleeding stump, shrieking into the foul air. Panic, cold and sharp, grips you again. For every wound you inflict, the monster grows stronger. A searing pain lances your leg. One head has bitten clean through your greave, its venom a fire in your veins. You stumble back, batting away another strike with your torch. The sizzle of scale on flame and the Hydra's shriek of pain give you the idea. The heads regrow from the stump. Fire cauterizes. You roar to your nephew Iolaus, who drives your chariot at the swamp's edge. The fire, bring the firebrands. The battle transforms. It becomes a gruesome dance of severing and searing. Iolaus is at your side, a moving wall of flame. You cut, he burns. The stench of burning flesh and venom joins the bog's rot. One by one, the mortal heads fall and are sealed, until only the central, immortal head remains, thrashing and hissing in fury. You cannot cut it, but you can bury it. Dragging the massive, still coiling body, you heave the immortal head under a gargantuan boulder you roll from the hillside, entombing it forever. The swamp falls quiet, the only sound the crackle of your torch and your ragged breath. You dip your arrows in the Hydra's venom, their tips now gleaming with a lethal black sheen. A weapon for labors to come. Eurystheus will say this labor didn't count because you had help. The sting of his pettiness is worse than the Hydra's bite. The air is crisp, clean, and carries the scent of pine and distant snow. This is the land of Arcadia, a world away from the fetid swamps. Your muscles ache from the pursuit, a year-long chase that has crossed mountains and valleys. Before you, in a sun-dappled grove, stands the Cyrenian hind. She is not a monster, but a creature of breathtaking, divine beauty. Her coat is a shimmering gold-touched bronze. Her hooves are of polished brass that click softly on the stone, and her antlers. They are not like any stag's, they are vast, intricate, and gleam like spun gold. She is sacred to Artemis, the huntress goddess. To harm her is to invite a wrath more focused and deadly than Hera's general hatred. She watches you with large, intelligent eyes, unafraid. Your task is not to kill, but to capture alive and bring her to Turin's. An impossible task for any hunter, for she is fleeter than any arrow. You have tried nets, pits, ambushes. For a year you have only ever seen her vanishing into the next thicket. Now, exhaustion has finally stilled her, or perhaps Artemis allows this moment. You approach slowly, empty hands raised. You speak not to the hind, but to the goddess whose presence you feel in the very stillness of the grove. Lady of the Wild, you murmur, the words feeling strange on your lips, used to roars and curses. I take her not for sport nor for pride, but because a coward king commands it. I mean her no harm. You see a faint shimmer in the air, a cool, approving breath that stirs the leaves. The hind lowers her head slightly. This is your chance. You move not with explosive force, but with a tired, relentless finality. You throw yourself forward, your arms wrapping not around her neck, but carefully around her gilded antlers. She bucks, a powerful, graceful motion, but you hold on, your weight dragging her down. You do not wrestle her to the ground with violence, but guide her fall, cushioning her impact with your own body. You lie there in the moss, panting, the divine creature breathing heavily beneath you. You have not broken a single golden tine. You will carry her, alive and unharmed, across the Peloponnese. This labor, unlike the others, leaves a strange, clean feeling in your soul. It is a reminder that not all strength is for breaking. Sometimes, it is for bearing a sacred weight with care. The smell hits you a mile before you see the source. It is a physical wall of rot, of ammonia, of decades of concentrated decay. The stables of King Augeas house 3,000 immortal cattle, and they have not been cleaned in 30 years. The filth is not just on the ground. It is piled in mountains, a geological formation of dung and putrid straw that has buried the very walls of the massive complex. Eurystheus, in his petty cleverness, thinks he has given you a degrading, impossible task meant to break your spirit rather than test your strength. You stand on a hill overlooking the valley, the twin rivers Alpheus and Peneus flowing peacefully in the distance. The idea comes not as a flash of divine inspiration, but as a simple, practical observation of the land. A labor of strength, yes, but more importantly, a labor of mind. You are not a stable boy. You are a force of nature. You go to Augeas and strike a bargain, 1/10 of his immortal herd if you can clean the stables in a single day. He laughs, seeing only a mighty fool, and agrees. You do not pick up a shovel. You turn your back on the stables and walk to the rivers. With your hands and the strength in your back, you begin to dig. You channel the rage of all the petty insults, all the degrading commands into the earth. You tear at the riverbanks, heaving boulders aside, redirecting the very flow of the landscape. You dig 2 massive trenches, your muscles screaming, the earth surrendering to your will. As the sun reaches its zenith, you smash through the final earthen dam. The river water, clear and powerful, roars into your new channels. It surges toward the stable valley. You stand atop your engineered dam and watch as the divine hydraulics do your work. The torrent hits the mountains of filth, and the valley becomes a churning, brown sea. Within hours, the decades of filth are scoured clean, washed down to the sea, leaving behind only wet, sparkling stone. The stables are cleansed. You turn to claim your prize, but you see Augeas's face, not honoring the deal, already twisting the story. This labor will be disputed, called a cheat. The satisfaction of your cleverness turns to ash in your mouth. The lesson is clear. Even when you solve an impossible task with wit, they will deny you the victory. Your strength is only acknowledged when it is bloody and brutal. The air in the Stymphalian marsh is thick, but not with decay, with a metallic avian tension. The trees are not trees but grotesque sculptures of white from the caustic droppings of the Stymphalian birds. These are no ordinary birds. Their feathers are made of sharpened bronze, their beaks and claws of tempered iron. They can launch their feathers like arrows, and their droppings dissolve flesh. The marsh is their fortress, too unstable to walk on, too thick with reeds to row across. You stand at its edge, shielded by the Nemean lion's pelt, feeling utterly stymied. A gift, then, from the gods who watch your trials. Athena, ever pragmatic, appears not in person, but her aid is left at the marsh's edge. A giant bronze crotala, a pair of clappers like immense castanets. You heft them, their weight familiar in your hands. Their purpose is not immediately clear until you look at the thousands of birds roosting in the petrified trees, a silent, deadly army. You raise the clappers and crash them together. The sound is not musical. It is a deafening, discordant crack that rolls across the marsh like thunder. The effect is instantaneous. The bronze birds shriek in a chorus of metallic terror, bursting from the trees in a cloud of sharp, glinting death. They fill the sky, a storm of beating wings and rattling feathers. They are terrified of the sound. Now they are vulnerable. You drop the clappers and take up your bow, the one whose arrows you dipped in the hydra's venom. You draw aim at the chaotic swarm. This is not a hunt but marksmanship under a rain of potential death. You fire. A bronze bird plummets, its form dissolving as the hydra's venom works. You fire again and again. The remaining birds, enraged and panicked, fly far away, never to return to this marsh. The sky clears. The marsh is silent again, save for the plink of a dissolving bronze feather hitting the water. You collect a handful of the intact, razor-sharp feathers as proof. Another labor complete, another tool used not with raw strength alone, but with the gods' oblique interventions. You are their puppet, but you are learning to feel the strings, to use their gifts for your own ends. Salt spray stings your face, and the roar of the ocean is a constant, pounding drone in your ears. You stand on the sun-baked earth of Crete, but your task comes from the sea. The Cretan bull, a beast of pure, white sea foam and earthquake power, sired by Poseidon himself. It is not a monster of darkness, but one of elemental chaos, rampaging across the island, breathing not fire but geysers of salt water and shaking the ground with its charge. You face it not in a swamp or forest, but on a wide coastal plain. It sees you and lowers its head, horns like polished coral catching the sun. It charges. The ground trembles. This is not the calculated grapple with the lion. This is a contest of pure, unstoppable force meeting immovable will. You plant your feet in the sand, bending your knees. You wait as the ton of muscle and rage closes the distance, a living tidal wave. At the last possible second, you sidestep, not away but in, your hands shooting out to grasp one of the sweeping horns. The impact jars every bone in your body. You are lifted off your feet, dragged as the bull thunders past. You hold on, your muscles screaming, your heels carving trenches in the sand. Using its own momentum, you twist, applying pressure to the horn, using your entire body as a lever. The bull bellows in surprise and pain as its head is wrenched to the side. Its charge becomes a stumbling, spinning stagger. You hold on, a wrestler now, shifting your grip, throwing a leg over its broad back. It bucks and rears, a titan trying to dislodge a parasite. You lock your arms around its thick neck, your legs viced around its ribs. For hours, you ride the storm. It tries to crush you against cliffs, to drown you in the surf. You hold. Slowly, the earthquake in its muscles subsides into trembling exhaustion. The fire in its eyes dims to a sullen ember. You slide off, keeping a firm hold on its horn, and lead the now placid beast to your ship. You will take it across the sea, a living prize. As you look into its rolling, ocean-deep eye, you see not malice, but a wild, untamed spirit broken to a purpose. You feel a kinship you dare not name. You are both powerful things, enslaved to weaker masters. The stables of Diomedes, king of the Bistonians, smell of blood and spoiled grain. These are not ordinary horses. They are 4 mares of immense size and beauty, but their eyes hold a mad red hunger. They are tethered with chains of iron to bronze mangers, and in those mangers, instead of oats, are the remains of Diomedes' guests and enemies. These mares eat human flesh, and their fury is the fury of cannibals. Your task, steal them. Diomedes and his warriors pour from the city as you approach the stables. A battle erupts around you, the clash of bronze, the screams of men. You fight through the throng, your club a whirlwind of breaking bones, but your goal is the stable. You burst inside, the maddened shrieks of the mares filling the confined space. They lunge against their chains, teeth bared, foam dripping from their lips. The horror of it fuels your strength. You do not try to soothe them. You use their own frenzy. With brutal, precise strikes of your club, you shatter their bronze mangers. Then with a roar that drowns their screams, you grab the central pillar of the stable and heave. Timbers groan, stone cracks, and the roof partially collapses, breaking the chains that anchor the mares to this charnel house. Freed but still mad, they stampede out of the stable, trampling through the ongoing battle. You see Diomedes in his rage try to rally his men to recapture them. A dark, grim idea forms. You turn the mares' hunger against their master. With terrifying speed, you cross the battlefield, grab Diomedes himself, and throw the screaming king into the path of his own creatures. The result is swift and gruesome. With their master devoured, the mare's madness seems to abate, replaced by a sated, dull exhaustion. You lead them, now strangely placid, down to your ship. The labor is complete, but the taste in your mouth is not of victory, but of ashes and iron. You have used a monstrous weapon to kill a monster, becoming a monster yourself in the process. The line between hero and beast of burden grows ever thinner. The scent is of grassland, horsehide, and an unfamiliar, clean freedom. You stand on the shores of Themyscira, land of the Amazons. Before you is Queen Hippolyta, a warrior as tall and powerful as any hero, her bearing regal and unafraid. At her hip rests the prize, the girdle of Ares, a leather belt set with a shimmering gold plaque, a symbol of her rank as war god's daughter. You have come for it by Eurystheus's command for his daughter. But here there is no monster to slay, no stable to clean, only a parley, and to your shock it goes well. Hippolyta listens to your story, the labors, the madness, the servitude. She sees not a conqueror but a fellow warrior under a curse. She nods, her eyes showing a pity no one has offered you in years. She unclasps the girdle from her waist and holds it out to you. "A gift," she says, her voice clear, "for the one who bears the heaviest burden of all." Your hand reaches out, a fragile hope of a peaceable end kindling in your chest. Then a shrill, divine shriek pierces the air. Hera, disguised as an Amazon, screams from the back of the crowd. "Treachery, he has come to kidnap our queen." The moment shatters. Mistrust flashes in Hippolyta's eyes. The Amazons, loyal and fierce, reach for their weapons. You see the gift turn into a trap. You shout, trying to explain, but it is too late. A spear is thrown. Then another. The peaceful shore explodes into a battle you never wanted. You fight defensively, trying to disengage, but the Amazons are relentless. In the chaos, Hippolyta, whether by your hand or another's in the melee, falls. You catch her as she sinks to the ground, the girdle now cold in your hand, its gold stained with her blood. The hope curdles into a new, profound grief. You take the girdle and flee to your ship, the victorious cries of the Amazons turning to wails of loss behind you. You have the prize, but it is drenched in the blood of the only person who offered you kindness without condition. Hera's victory is complete. She has poisoned yet another peaceful moment in your life. The sun here, on the western edge of the world at Erythea, is a perpetual bloody sunset. The air is hot and carries the scent of strange metallic dust. Your task is the red cattle of the monster Geryon, a being with 3 bodies joined at the waist. Guarding them is the 2-headed hound Orthrus, brother to Cerberus, and the giant herdsman Eurytion. You have crossed the Libyan desert, raised pillars to mark your passage, and now you face the final guardians. Orthrus charges first, a storm of fangs and fury from 2 snarling mouths. Your club meets one head, caving it in, while your other hand finds the throat of the second, silencing it with a familiar, brutal twist. Eurytion falls next, his giant form no match for your demigod speed. Then Geryon himself emerges from his citadel, a triple threat of spear and shield. He is formidable, but you have a secret weapon, the Hydra poison arrows. You knock one, draw, and let it fly. It strikes the central torso, right in the heart that beats for all 3 bodies. The Hydra's venom works fast, even on this titan. Geryon's 3 faces contort in identical surprise, then slacken. He falls like a felled oak. The cattle are yours, but the labor is not over. The journey back is an epic of its own, driving the herd across all of Europe, battling thieves and local gods, facing the heat of the sun god Helios who tries to scatter them. At the strait, the goddess Hera sends a gadfly to madden the cattle, stampeding them across the continents. You spend a year recollecting them, one by one. Finally, you drive them into the gates of Turin's. Eurystheus, seeing the magnificent herd, immediately sacrifices them to Hera, the goddess who orchestrated this whole ordeal. The cosmic joke is complete. Your greatest journey, your battles at the edge of the world, all end as burnt offerings on the altar of your tormentor. The labors are meant to purify you, but each one only seems to weave Hera's thread tighter into the tapestry of your life. The air is cool, laden with the perfume of 1,000 impossible flowers. You stand at the edge of the known world in the Garden of the Hesperides. Your final official task: retrieve the golden apples of immortality, guarded by the dragon Ladon and the nymphs of the evening. But you are lost. The garden is a labyrinth of twilight and silver leaves. You have wrestled the sea god Nereus for directions, fought the giant Antaeus who drew strength from the earth, and now you are here, but the apples are hidden. You see Ladon, a dragon with 100 heads, each sleeping coiled around the tree with the golden fruit. To fight it would be another Hydra, a battle without end. Then you see him, Atlas the Titan himself, condemned to hold the weight of the sky on his shoulders for eternity. He stands on a nearby peak, the celestial sphere a shimmering, star-studded weight upon his back. An idea born of desperation and cunning forms. You approach Atlas. You offer him a deal. You will hold the sky if he will go into the garden where his daughters the Hesperides dwell and pluck the apples for you. Atlas, his eyes gleaming with the thought of freedom, even for a moment, agrees. You brace yourself. You take the weight from him. The universe settles onto your shoulders. It is not a physical weight you can muscle against. It is the pressure of infinity, of all space and time compressing into your spine. Your knees buckle, your muscles scream in a new language of agony. You see Atlas walk away free into the garden. He returns, 3 golden apples glowing in his hand, but he does not take back the sky. "I will take these to Eurystheus myself," he says, a smile playing on his lips. "You are trapped. Your strength for once is useless. You cannot move, so you use your wit one last time. Of course," you grunt, the stars grinding in your vision. "But could you take the sky for just a moment so I may put a pad on my shoulders? The pain is unbearable." Atlas, fooled by simplicity, agrees. He sets the apples down and takes the celestial weight back. The moment he is burdened, you snatch the apples and walk away, leaving the Titan where he began. You have the prize, but the memory of the sky weight is now etched into your very bones. You have carried the world. Everything else will feel light by comparison. This air is not air. It is the absence of life, a cold, still vacuum that pulls at your soul. You stand at the mouth of Taenarum, the descent to the underworld. Your final unofficial task, demanded by Eurystheus in a final act of cowardice. Bring him Cerberus, the 3-headed guard dog of Hades, without using weapons. You descend. The river Styx, the wailing fields, the silent palace of Hades. You pass through them all, a living man among shades. You stand before the throne of Hades and Persephone. You ask as a supplicant, not a thief. To your shock, the Lord of the Dead consents. "Take him," Hades says, his voice like grinding stones. "If you can subdue him with your bare hands and return him when Eurystheus has seen his fill." You find Cerberus at the gates of Acheron. He is not a beast, but a force of finality. 3 heads, a mane of serpents, a dragon's tail, he charges. This is the ultimate grapple. You have no lion's pelt here, no mortal strength to rely on. This is your divine essence against the essence of death itself. You meet him head-on. One hand finds a throat, another an eye, your legs wrap around the monstrous torso. The serpent manes bite, the dragon tail lashes. You ignore it all. You focus on the pressure, the relentless choking hold you learned in Nemea, perfected in Crete. You are not fighting to kill, but to master. You squeeze, applying pressure not to break, but to still. The cold of the beast seeps into your bones. The barks of the 3 heads become whimpers, then silence. The great beast goes limp in your arms, subdued. You lift the monstrous hound, a living piece of the underworld, and carry him back to the world of light. When you present him to Eurystheus, the king shrieks in terror and hides in his great bronze jar, begging you to take it away. You return Cerberus to Hades, your debt fulfilled. The 12 labors are done. You are technically free. But as you stand again in the sun, you feel the cold of the underworld still deep in your marrow. You have been to the land of the dead and back. You are no longer just a demigod. You are a veteran of all the realms, and you are hollow. The scent is of celebration, roasting meat, spilled wine, fragrant oils. You are a hero now, free of your labors. You have a new wife, Deianira. You are victorious, respected. You have just defeated the river god Achelous for her hand. Life, for the first time since your madness, tastes sweet. Then, a reminder of the past. On a journey, a centaur named Nessus tries to kidnap Deianira as he ferries her across a river. You put a hydra poison arrow through his treacherous heart. As he dies, Nessus whispers to your wife, "Take my blood, a love charm to keep him faithful." He gives her his poisoned, tunic-soaked blood. Years later, a shadow of doubt falls. Deianira, fearing you care for another princess, sends you a gift, a magnificent, fresh cloak. She has anointed it with the love charm, Nessus's blood, now mixed with olive oil. You are preparing a sacrifice to the gods, a moment of gratitude. You put on the cloak. At first, there is only the softness of the wool, the warmth of the sun. Then a prickling heat, subtle at first. You think it is the sun, the fire of the altar, but it grows. It becomes a burning, a searing pain that sinks through your skin, into your muscles, your bones. It is the Hydra's venom, reactivated by the heat of your body and the sacrificial fire. You try to tear the cloak off, but it has already fused to your flesh. The agony is beyond anything. The lion's claws, the Hydra's bite, the weight of the sky. This pain is from within, a fire eating you alive. You realize the truth in a flash of horrific clarity. Nessus's final revenge, Deianira's tragic error. This is not a monster's attack. It is the past, your own weaponized deeds coming back to consume you. Your great strength is useless. You cannot wrestle away a pain that is now part of your cells. You let out a roar that shakes the trees on the mountain, a sound of ultimate betrayal, not by your wife, but by fate itself. The pain is a universe. It is all you are. You lie on a bed of agony atop Mount Oda. You have ordered a funeral pyre built. Your son Hyllus stands by with a torch, his face a mask of grief and horror. You cannot be saved. The poison is immortal as the Hydra was. Only a god's intervention can end this. You have sent word to your father, Zeus. Will he answer? The pyre is ready, a mountain of fragrant pine and oak. You are carried onto it. The rough-hewn logs press against your burning back. You look up at the sky, a perfect, indifferent blue. You nod to Hyllus. "Light it," you rasp, "and do not look back." The torch touches the tinder. With a whoomp, the world becomes heat and light and smoke. The physical fire meets the internal poison, and the agony crescendos into a single, white-hot point of existence. You scream, but the sound is lost in the roar of the flames. This is your final labor, to endure, to hold on long enough. As the flesh begins to sear from your bones, you see a shape descending through the smoke and flame. Not a bird, but an eagle, majestic, powerful, the symbol of your father. It wraps its talons around your essence, around the divine part of you that the fire cannot touch, and lifts. The pain falls away, shed like the burning mortal shell below. You rise through the smoke, through the clouds, into the clear, cold air of Olympus. The pyre becomes a tiny, glowing ember on the green earth far below. You have burned away the mortal, the cursed, the poisoned. The last thing you feel is not the heat of the fire, but the cool, firm grip of divine hands welcoming you home. The prophecy is fulfilled. You are cleansed, not by servitude, but by sacrificial fire. The air is nothing. It is pure, weightless, filled with a soft, golden light that has no source. The agony is gone. The heaviness of muscle and bone is gone. You stand whole on a floor of polished cloud stuff. Before you are the great gates of Olympus, wrought from a single piece of star metal. They swing open silently. You walk through. The assembled gods are there in their splendor. Athena nods, her gaze approving. Hermes offers a faint smile. Ares looks grudgingly respectful. And Hera. She sits on her throne, her face an unreadable mask of perfected divinity. There is no hatred in her eyes now, only a cold, accepted fact. You have suffered her trials and passed. You are no longer her husband's bastard shame, but a proven member of the pantheon. Then you see him. Zeus, the cloud gatherer, your father. He is larger than mountains, his beard crackling with subdued lightning. He steps down from his throne and places a hand on your shoulder. The touch is electric, grounding, familial. "Welcome, son," he says, and his voice is the rumble of a benevolent storm. "Your place is here now, as a god." He presents you with Hebe, the goddess of youth, as your wife. The irony is not lost youth after a life defined by toil and aging pain. The ceremony is brief, wordless. A cup of ambrosia is placed in your hand. You drink. A new kind of warmth floods you, not the burning of strength or poison, but the steady, eternal glow of divinity. You look at your hands. They are the same powerful hands, but they shimmer slightly, no longer subject to time or mortal injury. You are Hercules no longer. You are Heracles, god of strength and heroic endeavor. The labors are over. The curse is lifted. But as you take your seat among the immortals, you feel the ghost of a weight on your shoulders. You have achieved apotheosis, but the memory of the pyre of the lion's breath of a mortal wife's tears is now your eternity. You look down, not from a mountain but from the fabric of the night itself. The earth is a blue-green marble, small and distant. Your perspective is no longer that of a man or even a god on a mountain. You are part of the cosmos. You feel the pull of other stars, the slow, majestic dance of the spheres. Below on that tiny world, mortals point fingers at the patterns in the dark. They trace your shape in the stars, the hero kneeling, club raised, lion's pelt flowing. The constellation Hercules. They tell stories of your labors, of your strength, of your tragic end and glorious ascent. They get details wrong. They argue over your motives. They use your name for inspiration, for warning, for myth. You feel their prayers, faint as starlight, touching the edges of your consciousness. Some pray for strength to endure their own labors. Some curse your name for the chaos you brought. You are a story now as much as you are a god. The warmth in your limbs is the nuclear fire of a star, constant and immortal. The trials are over, but the witnessing has just begun. You see heroes rise, facing their own serpents, their own hydras, their own poisoned cloaks. You do not interfere. You are not a savior. You are a pattern, a testament written in light across the void. The lion, the hydra, the stag, the bull, they are all up here with you, frozen in celestial memory. Your eternal presence is not one of rest, but of silent, steadfast vigil. You are the proof that even a life forged in divine hatred and mortal agony can, through sheer endurance, become a permanent light in the darkness. You are Heracles, and your labor now is to simply be a reminder, a benchmark, a star towards which weary mortals can look up and know the impossible has been done before. Another legend fades, but the next awaits. Like this video, subscribe and continue the journey through myths.